When you hear your name called, I want you to go over to Coach Butts, and I want you to pick up your jersey.
Those jerseys are so cool.
For everyone who has waited to be chosen.
Lewis.
Yeah!
But is still waiting.
Rivera.
For every person who only wanted that one chance.
For the rest of you.
But never got it.
I'd like to thank you for trying out.
Your day has come.
You killed him, Icebox.
Look, you berserk old Barbie doll.
You can talk the talk, you walk the walk.
Somebody call 911!
Warner Brothers and Amblin Entertainment present
I'll show you intimidation.
Little Giants.
Do you like football?
No?
You want to play football?
No?
Great, you can be on our team.
Welcome back to the One Star Cowboys podcast. We're recording this on Sunday night, December 1st. Hard to believe. And we hope you all had a great Thanksgiving holiday. But back to business, right? So you get the big win over the Giants on Thanksgiving Day. I'm Kevin Turner with Jon Machota and Kent Garrison. Saad Youssef will be back joining us later in the week when we get you ready for the Bengals, a Bengals preview episode. Maybe we'll have another special guest join us as well. So let's go to Thursday real quick. First of all, Team Tank guys out there, sorry. Team Tank guys and gals, sorry about you. Your hopes and dreams have been dashed. We're in the hunt. Let me tell you something that's hit me today. Watching all the football today. Heck, we're recording this at halftime of the Bills and 49ers game. It is kind of amazing how every narrative you can come up with in September and October, by the time you really get to December 1st, the cream has risen to the top of the NFL. So you can start making up some excuses about some teams or whatever. And for the most part, you kind of know who's really good and you kind of know who's really bad. And the rest is just fighting for a playoff spot. And that's where we find ourselves. Pretty bad and fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I agree. It is kind of nice to sit back and watch some other teams play a little closer than what I'm able to do from the press box on Sunday. So that has been entertaining. But yeah, like when you look at the NFC, like the Lions and Eagles have separated themselves from the rest of the NFC. I'd say then the next tier is the Packers and Vikings. And obviously a great game on Thursday night between the Packers and Lions. That should be a big part of it. But then there's a big drop-off, I feel like, after those four teams. And that's kind of where you find, as we are at halftime of this San Francisco game, that, you know, I thought even going into this game, I'm still, just because of over the years, just being like, no, don't sleep on the Niners. Like, they're not done yet. Man, that's not a very good team right now. And so I thought for sure there'd be a point where I'm like, no, I'm going to put them in an upper tier, and they're not there. And so while I think it's highly unlikely that the Cowboys could make the playoffs, even if they did, I just don't like their chances at all if they had to play any of those first four teams I mentioned.
Yeah, and it's a thing like, so the Cowboys get a couple wins and it's beating the Giants or beating a Washington team who looked great today against Tennessee. Like, so it's like, it's hard to really like say, but the point is like, hey, this team's trying to get wins. You know, the Bengals. Okay, I feel like the Bengals would be a pretty good team. They're 4-8 right now, and that's who we're gonna have next week. We'll worry about the Bengals a little bit later on. It's just the NFL's
real
crazy.
Quick on that one, I know we'll get into this, but just because it's fresh and I just got the email recently, what do you think the opening line is on that game?
Oh, okay, it's Bengals would be favored.
The 4-8 Bengals. What? So you think they're favored? How much do you think they're favored by? More than 3?
Man, it should be more than 3. I'm going to say 3.5.
5.5.
Okay.
So that shows you that even the odds makers look at it as, yeah, it's cool that the Cowboys ended that losing streak, but it's also the fact that they played Washington and New York. And when you look at those two teams specifically, it's teams with awful run defenses, which is key for this Cowboys, because it's not like Cooper Rush is going to put up these big numbers. So you got these last two games, Rico Dowdle's been able to get the run game going. Now, if you're a Cowboys fan, I wrote about this for tomorrow on The Athletic. It's just basically like 5 things that they would have to keep doing to keep the playoff. One of them is the run game part of it. And you do look at the rest of the league and what they have left on their schedule, and they got another game against Washington, not a good run defense. Carolina, the NFL's worst run defense. And then the Bengals are probably, they're bottom half of the league, so they're probably like around, 18 or 20th. So it's not like they're great. And the Eagles are very good. They're a top 10 run defense. So to make the playoffs, you're going to have to win, I would think, at least 9 games. So you'd have to go 4-1 the rest of the way. So it's not completely impossible. It's obviously unlikely.
Very unlikely. A Bengals team who today at home could not beat the Steelers team that the Cowboys did beat. It's kind of wild though. Russell Wilson, I think 5-1 now. I was like, what? What? Don't write anybody off in this league.
Steelers gonna Steeler, man.
Yeah.
Situations matter so much too, right? I think that's where you just learn. Like a lot of things are just like circumstantial. I'll take this back to, this is weird. Let me take it to Kellen Moore for a minute. You know what? Kellen Moore looks like a really damn good offensive coordinator when Saquon Barkley is his running back compared
Healthy?
to
When Saquon Barkley is healthy?
Is healthy and his running
There's
back.
nothing that Saquon Barkley is doing that is anything different than he was doing in New York, except he's healthy.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but when you
he's got
compare
better
it
players
to
around him too, obviously. That's
when
the
you
big part
compare
of
it to whatever the Chargers running back situation was last year, it's like, well, Kellen Moore's a hot name. You're going to see it. You're going to see it this week. People are talking about Kellen Moore. You're going to get that, okay? And fine and maybe well deserved. It's just situations matter so much. What position are you put in? Are you put into a position to succeed in general? So many NFL teams have insane dysfunction. I know Kent's been involved with the Bears podcast a lot, and a lot of stuff going on out there. Tons of dysfunction here, as always, but we do like to act like we're the only one sometimes. When about a third of the teams in the league really do have huge problems that they just, some of them are very much self-inflicted. And you have a few organizations that have seemed to get through the woods and are kind of there every year. The Lions are becoming that.
Yeah, the biggest difference with this organization is that you're constantly hearing from the owner and general manager, where all those other ones, you don't hear from them. So while it's bad, there's a point in your day, there's a point on a Monday or Tuesday where you just put it behind you and you're like, everything just sucks right now. I'm not going to pay attention. There's nobody that's then going and throwing gasoline on your fire to be like, no, let me piss you off a little bit more. Let me say this or let me do this, where you don't hear from them. They're out reffing softball games or something. They're not really in the day-to-day. So it's tougher for you to, not tougher, but it's easier for you not to get as frustrated with them because they're not sitting there speaking constantly and pissing you off.
I feel like one thing that we should talk about with the Cowboys, you get the win against the Giants. So let's talk about what the potential of this defense is, because it does look. Do you remember in like week 2 or 3 or whatever, we're having a discussion about whatever Zimmer's base defense is and why Overshown isn't on the field? I think it might have been the Saints game. And now you're like, okay, a defense with a healthy Micah Parsons and Overshown, and I guess we should probably add Ron Bland into that mix too. We've got something there. And it just shows you how a unit can change over a season as well. Like, still, the Cowboys defense still, I would argue, is not very good. But the potential and future framework of it is there and does look very good. Yeah,
it seems like the unit is more comfortable with Zimmer now. And obviously we knew it was going to take some time. Like, that wasn't just going to happen. And no, it's cool. Everybody will get on these planes and we're going to fly to Oxnard, and we're going to do these 5 weeks of practices, but it's not like real football because no one's getting tackled or anything. But yeah, no, the defense will improve there. And then week 1, it'll just hit the ground running. I'll be honest with you. I thought week 1, they looked pretty damn good though against Cleveland. So it made me think like, oh, maybe this adjustment is going to be a little bit quicker than we thought. And it wasn't. And obviously injuries played a factor. When you lose DeMarcus Lawrence, you lose Micah Parsons very early in the season. That's going to change things. Obviously Bland got hurt at the end of that last week. They were out in Oxnard. So a lot of that factors in, but it looks like they're getting more comfortable and vice versa. The players with Zimmer with the players. But then also Micah looks like he did before the injury. Deron Bland being back is huge. They should be getting back Trayvon Diggs pretty soon. They should be getting DeMarcus Lawrence back pretty soon. Jerry was on the radio saying Friday that he thinks more than likely Lawrence could play against the Bengals on Monday. later in that day on Friday, Mike McCarthy had a conference call. He sounded a lot more cautious about that. Like, let's just see if he can get on the field and do anything this week before we say that. But it does seem like within the next week or two, you get Diggs and Lawrence back with all of a sudden Micah and like you said, Bland, Eric Kendricks, Marvion Overshone. And now it's starting to look like the defense that we've seen for the previous 3 years.
Yeah, it's just like that play that Overshone made swings the game, clearly. But these are things we've seen from him since he's been here. Like, just kind of jumping off the tape, right? And you're sitting there watching games and going, okay, well, he's a game-changing player. It's even made me go a little deeper because when you're in doom and gloom mode at 3-7 or earlier in the year, and you're, okay, what could you get for Micah and things like that? And then you start to realize how stupid that is. Well, so maybe it's not stupid. Maybe it is a fair thing. I'll take that back. Let me say not stupid. But like the idea of going, well, I have signed Dak and I have signed CD and we can't sign everyone, blah, 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 blah. Look, I'll pay Micah when it's time to pay Micah. But then you go, okay, now that Overshone's there too. And then we kind of and you start thinking about, okay, well, that makes Micah better. And when Micah's hurt, you're not, you can come up with these ideas of, what could you get for him when he's healthy and all that. No, actually, he's a very good player. If not elite player, you sign him because you sign your elite players and you figure it all out. And I think that's something that's also came into focus for me over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm not. When people brought up, trading him and stuff like that, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm 100% against it. You got to tell me though what you're getting in return. It's not just get whatever highest bidder, just whatever you can get, and just be happy with it and move on. This is going to be addition by subtraction. I don't look at it like that at all. But if someone was willing to give you like multiple ones and some other stuff, yeah, I would listen to it. I wouldn't completely shut down any of that. That's me though. The Cowboys, I don't see them listening to any of that. You call them, ask about Micah Parsons. It doesn't sound like they're very interested in even having the conversation. So, he's not going anywhere. And so you'll probably have something like, let's see here, $135 million tied up in 3 players every year now after his contract's done. I would figure his deal would be somewhere in the $40 million range, depending on when that gets signed. And so, that just kind of that's what comes with it. But no, there are signs that they've showed on that defense. The only thing I will say about that, though, is so then let's say they end up with, like I put up a poll question a couple days ago on Twitter, like how many games do you think the Cowboys will win for the rest of the season, And it was, 6 or less, which would be only winning one more, 7, 8, or 9 or 10, and most people went with 7, which I think is pretty realistic. That would be them winning 2 more games. But let's say they won, 2 or 3 more games. They're changing out the coaching staff in the offseason. So then all of a sudden now you're going with another new defensive coordinator, and so that'll be 3 new DCs in 3 years. So that part is, that makes you kind of wonder, how much are you really getting out of this season? What was this season even for? It's a kind of a waste, but I guess it all depends on who that next DC is. And let's be honest, this isn't college. This is professional football. That whoever that DC is that's calling plays for them next year, their plays are going to be designed around whatever the greatest strengths are for Micah Parsons and Marvion Overshone. And speaking of Overshone, because you brought up that play, you can make the argument that's the biggest play for the Cowboys this season. Because the way that game was going up until that play really looked like a lot of their previous home games where it was like, they probably won't get blown out like they have in these other home games just because the firepower isn't there for the Giants, but they're well on their way of losing this game, by the way, in front of a television audience that at one point peaked at 41 million viewers.
What do you do? Turn it from that? No,
it is the most watched regular season game for the 3rd consecutive year. And so when the season ends and all the ratings come out, like after the Super Bowl, the only games that are going to get higher ratings than that Cowboys-Giants game that we just saw will be the AFC and NFC championship game and the Super Bowl. That'll be it. Playoff games will not get as good of ratings as that game did. So I bet everybody enjoyed that.
Well, that's something about, though, the Cowboys last month, I guess. Because these games, let's say, the 2 wins clearly, but even that Texans game that ended up being such a blowout was close until the end. Like the score is 34-10 on that game, I think.
Yeah.
That game was not 34-10. That game was closer. And then the game before that, well, the Eagles got you pretty good, 34-6. You didn't hang in that one too long. But that's 3 weeks in a row of like watchable football where quite honestly, the first month of the season, I'm sorry, the second month of the season when you had those blowouts, the Lions game comes to mind. I don't know if my order of operations is correct. Clearly the Saints game jumps out at you.
Ravens, terrible.
The 49ers game wasn't that close, you know? So like there's a lot of things that you just kind of go, man, that wasn't very watchable football. At least that, even though it wasn't great, was close game. And when you're hanging with family or whatever, watching that game on Thanksgiving, it's good to have a little close game. Now I do have to ask you, has the Athletic and New York Times given you a call about, divvying off a little bit and working the food beat as well?
They have not, and I think they should. That's what I do. Your
chicken news from Thursday was outstanding, and I would like to know the story of how that all came about.
So there was one point, and I can't remember what part of the game it was. I want to say maybe third quarter, where there was a timeout. I can't remember what the stop and play was, but it was clearly one of those where I always have the TV copy on, so I knew that it was a commercial break. And then there were players on the field, but I saw Zeke like walking by one of the kettles, like looking in it. And so I was like, you know what, I might go down there after, because I did that after they did the turkey leg thing last year. I'm like, I'm gonna go look in these kettles and see if they were in every one, which they were, And so not only that, but Overshown, after he had Kendricks cause that fumble, and Overshown got the recovery, and he went running. They didn't show this on TV, but he did a celebration where he threw the ball into one of the kettles. And so I was like, after we got done with locker room availability, I'm like, I'm going to go walk onto the field and see, if those balls are still in one of the kettles or whatever like that. And I saw a box in one of them in a bag, and I'm like, that looks exactly like they had for the turkey legs. And so I obviously grabbed the bag, and I pulled out, and then Saad came over there with me too, and we were laughing about this because one of the security guards that was over by the kettle was like, because I started to get out my phone to take a picture, he's like, he goes, he was an older gentleman, because he said, "You're not going to put this on the evening news, are you?" The evening news, sir?
That's exactly what I'm going to do, sir.
Yes.
I'm about to post this on X, brother, okay? It's not going to be on the evening news. But so I took a picture, and I was like, I'm going to post this, because it also, there's more to the story too, in the sense that, so every home game, there's some type of a signature item that they have in the press box. So like, let's say when they play Philly, there'll be like a at halftime, there'll be like a little station off to the side that has like someone making like Philly cheesesteaks and stuff like that. So they always have some. Well, at halftime, they had these, I think it was Tyson's chicken nuggets that are shaped like stars, and they were in the press box. And so when I saw those, I was like, oh, that's interesting or whatever, but didn't think anything of like that being incorporated with the players. And then so when I opened that box, that's what they were. I was like, oh yeah, they have these up in the press box. So clearly it was going to be one of those things where it would have been also promotional too, where they would have loved it for, I just don't know how you would have celebrated with it. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just throwing them in the air.
They did do a Tyson promo after the game. I don't know if you saw it.
That's the big news story this week, actually.
Players were on the field eating the Tyson, and they said thanks, thanks for the feast, Thanksgiving feast or something. So they did get a promo in, but just not the touchdown.
Yeah.
This story actually hit the wire, and not your story, your addition to the story. The actual story that Tyson is releasing Dallas Cowboys chicken nuggets. Like that hit like the week after I think the loss to the Texans. So we're 3-7 and the stadium's falling apart.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well here's some Cowboy. Okay, well, you know what? Always in the news, chicken nuggets. I mean, just add it to the list of things from this season. Like when we do our off season, like if we do our like timeline again, we're gonna look back and remember so many things and we go, oh my God, I can't believe that was a story. John's had to write about some stuff, but is that you? So you just saw Zeke looking in the kettle, and that is what piqued your attention.
And Overshown throwing the ball in the kettle too, and I didn't see anybody grab it out. And so I was like, man,
how observant.
Could that thing still be in there? So I'm like, well, when I leave, because we can't get on the field, they make it very difficult. Every year that goes by, the NFL makes it more and more difficult to get out onto the field. So I was like, I know after locker room closes, I can get out there, And so that's why I walked that way around to see if like there was anything still in there. And that's when I saw the bag in one. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to the other one and see if, and sure enough, there was a bag in a box with them in another one too. So obviously that was going to be part of it. But then you also made me think of like how the game went. I'm just like, yeah, there really wasn't too many options of like, I guess Overshown could have done it after his touchdown, but it's also one of those things where I wouldn't be surprised if like all the players didn't even know about it. And it was probably only one of those things where guys were going to do it if it was like a blowout, and obviously that game didn't turn to being a blowout,
Yeah, Zeke's thinking about the garbage time touchdown that he's going to get, because Rico scored.
Yeah.
And he didn't go to it.
It's
John,
not fun.
You were saying off the air, I hope it's okay if I share this, that you knew the Cowboys had turned the corner this season once Jelly Roll came on stage.
Jelly donut?
Jelly Roll.
And don't do this to me. You know how I feel about country music. This isn't a good. Don't put me in this spot. I don't know anything about.
No, you were saying how
Jelly Roll is that wild combination of like Post Malone and then Chris Stapleton, and you just kind of jam it together into one thing. And he's also, I would throw in Kevin Hart too, because he's just kind of always there. It does not matter where you turn. You cannot escape Jelly Roll. It is currently Jelly Roll's world, and we're all living in it. Yeah. And if you are one of the proud few who don't know who we're talking about, congratulations on the rock you've been living under, because you have avoided any and all Jelly Roll news. Jelly Roll is to pop culture right now what Taylor Swift was to the NFL last year. You can't get away from it.
Will Jelly Roll have an Ice Spice type of career where you hear about her every day for a year and then you don't hear about her again? I
think it's very
possible. 6 months, because I haven't heard about Ice Spice since the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think he's already surpassed that.
Yeah, but where's the longevity? Here's his bit though. His bit is, he used to do a little rapping. Definitely used to do a little drinking and drugs, but a little country music, also rock music. As a guy who technically works at a rock station, I mean, whenever there's a new band is breaking a song, they'll tell you, hey, we got to play this world premiere of Jelly Roll's new song. And I was like, I thought he was a country music.
How did the Cowboys let the Lions get Shabuzi? He's got the biggest country hit in the world right now. What's going on there?
Detroit did redeem themselves this year. I don't know if you got to see it, John. Really made the Jack Harlow thing from last year.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jack Harlow too. So yeah, you guys are just hitting all the hits for me, man. These are big.
Proud of your city for stepping up, because Jack Harlow's performance was terrible.
I was too. Forget about them winning the football game and improving to 11-1.
Barely.
That halftime show.
What do you think about though how it went down after the Lions game? The Bears absolutely blowing that at the end. The way they put Eberflus on the radio at 9 a.m. the next day and then fired him 30 minutes later when he was saying, business as usual. I'm just doing my tape, getting ready for the next game. And it was just, what did that strike you like, John, covering the Cowboys and how they would have maybe handled something like that?
Oh, I mean, it's just such a great example of a bad organization. I mean, just, like the Steelers don't do stuff like that. The Ravens don't do things like that. Packers don't do things like that. It was interesting because they're a team that's never fired a coach in the middle of the season, but after the way that they performed in that last couple of minutes, it's completely understandable why they did decide to move on, coupled with many other things. That's not just a one-off reason that you would fire your head coach, but it was trending in that way anyway. But yeah, having him talk earlier in the day before they announced that made no sense, but it also was very Bears-like. That's the thing. Just the way that they're run is just so, it's been so poor for a while now. I mean, heck, you just go back to last offseason. Like, you had this new quarterback. It was all there for you. Why didn't you go get Jim Harbaugh? I mean, that's the type of thing that would, this makes sense. This would, former Bears quarterback. This is exactly what you and they don't do that, so it just, I would say that, I'm not saying that the Cowboys would never do something like that with the whole press conference and then the person's let go, because there are, it's kind of like with the Daniel Jones kind of took it upon himself after they had him run him at safety in one of those practices, and all of a sudden he read a statement, and the next thing you know, he's let go. It reminded me kind of the Romo situation in 2016. So, I can just go back to what I said earlier. It's different in Dallas because all that stuff happens, then you have the owner and GM talking about it at length, and so that just the story doesn't go away. Whereas with the Bears, it's not like you have George McCaskey going up there in the middle of one of the softball games he was umpiring.
I wish we did.
And give his take on that. So
umpiring softball.
It's insane.
I'm sorry, man. If Jerry's doing that, it's the biggest story in sports,
Oh, my God, yes.
He's been doing this for a while, and it's like, yeah, there's been stories written about it, but there's so many people that don't know about it, and it blows me away. So, they're just not a very well-run organization, so good luck to the next head coach.
Good luck to the next head coach. Could
I
be
also
a lot
don't
of
think
candidates.
I also made this case to Saad in the press box right after that game ended. Yeah, Eberflus is by far the most to blame there. He's not 100%, though.
No.
Your quarterback?
Quarterback?
I get he's a rookie, but, you're a professional football player. You've played football for a long time. To sit there and get sacked at 33 seconds and you're not doing anything either, and then you're changing the play at the line of scrimmage, okay, he's not without blame either.
To change the play with 13 seconds left is insane. Because the coach is going, Jesus, surely he's going to snap the ball, and then I still can save this timeout.
If you watch earlier in that series, when you watch earlier in the series, they call a timeout when Caleb's up at the line, and Caleb's pissed. The way he looks over at the sideline and that he's mad because they're about to snap it. And so I wonder, I said this to Saad, I wonder if there's some residuals to that, to where Eberflus is I'm not going to call a timeout here. Let the kid do what he wants because, this is his show and everything like that. Because let's be honest, it is. If you don't think it is, check this out real quick. If things don't go well for the next head coach, you think Caleb's out? All right, watch.
The way
we'll
Jim Nantz and Romo just jumped on it, what a horrible mess up. They just immediately knew how terrible it was.
It was bad, but John's right. Context in this does matter. Him snapping at him for taking a timeout when the play clock was running down before that play. This happened 2 weeks ago in the Green Bay game where they blocked the field goal to win the game. You could hear him on the mic. He yelled at them because they called a timeout. They were going to take a punt, and they ended up going for it on 4th and 1. And basically just do whatever Caleb wants. If Caleb throws a bitch fit on the field, they'll go, okay, hold on. Okay. And you know what? That's what it is when you have a guy like that who's going to be the face of the franchise for many years. But I 100% agree. Eberflus absolutely should have been fired. Cool.
Yep.
Maybe should have never had the job. Maybe never should have read it back. But I absolutely am with you on that. Dude, that's 50-50. He changed the play with 13 seconds left on a running clock.
Also, when they snap the ball, he's never looking for the short option. No. So he's not looking to get a first down and get out of bounds. He's like, oh, no, this will be the final play. To his credit, though, and the reason why a lot of teams would put up with it, though, the ball he throws to Roma Dunze is the dude's got crazy arm talent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just the plays he made in that second half, even to put them in that position. That's the thing. There's just he's got the talent to him, some rare talent that you're I can see why a lot of coaches would be yeah, I don't care about the attitude or any of this other stuff. Give me that ability and I'll figure it out, And hey, as someone that grew up not liking the Bears, believe me, I'm happy they didn't get Jim Harbaugh and piece him together with Caleb Williams. I don't think that it's that crazy to think that the Bears might be having the Chargers season if that had happened. So
yeah.
How concerned should you be now? Bears let go of a coach, got a couple other job openings around. That, maybe a target for the Cowboys might take one of these jobs before they even have a chance to let Mike go. Belichick might take one of these jobs in late December, something like that.
Yeah, if you're a Cowboys fan, that should be on your mind for sure, but I don't get that sense from Jerry. They've been good about whoever their next coach is kind of keeping it under wraps. Obviously, we all speculate about it, but there really isn't much that got leaked out about Mike McCarthy if you go back to the last coaching search. It came together pretty quickly. And so the issue that you run into here, Kent, is that I think the three of us on this show, I think most people that cover the team, I think most people that cover the NFL, probably a lot of people that work in the NFL would say, yeah, that should be a concern. You want to make sure you get that thing lined up. But I have to say, just my time covering the Cowboys, Jerry Jones.
They get their guy.
Not only that, but it's not really even they get their guy, is that Jerry just doesn't put a major emphasis on coaching for the most part. he believes that, like, you know, going back to almost that Jimmy Johnson statement he made with how I can't remember the exact number of how many other coaches that could do this job. You know, he doesn't. He doesn't put the coaches on that level like he probably should, to be honest with you.
Absolutely should.
So even if that means he gets his like second best option or something like that, then
that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm serious. Like that's always been a thing with him, where I don't think he puts the same emphasis on it that a lot of other places do.
No, I agree 100%, and I've been thinking about this a lot because the Bears, obviously, you would imagine, especially coming off Eberflus with the ebbs and flows of things, will probably go offense, right? Now, maybe you have your guy who doesn't lean anyway, but like you can't help but imagine a guy who we talk about a lot, who Jerry would probably never even consider here, and heck, he may not even consider coming. Ben Johnson would make sense. That would make sense. Stay in the division. I have some talent. I can fix this guy with my offense. That's an opportunity that I could go win in. And those are the things that kind of bug me, even though it maybe is a guy that we won't consider, because what's annoying is the idea that your decision makers won't turn over every possible stone just to see what might be underneath there. That is, it's annoying more than it is maddening to me. It's just like, I don't know, maybe it should be maddening because it's a, I don't know if it's laziness or if it's a type of arrogance because of the brand.
I would lean more arrogance than I would laziness, but I also think that because there's a lot that comes with being, you know, the Cowboys head coach, that and the way Jerry has preferred someone who has been a head coach before. That's why I've always kind of felt like the Ben Johnson thing kind of seems like a long shot for them, that they're not that interested in that process. And to be honest with you, as great of an offensive play caller Ben Johnson is, like, you go to the Cowboys or the Bears as the head coach, you're going to be doing a lot of things that nobody really knows for sure, including yourself, how you handle, because you've never done it before. And you're going into a pretty hot fire. You know, this isn't the Tennessee Titans, like, hey, man, we're going to give you 2 or 3 years, kind of get this thing start turning around. Like, you go to the Bears with Caleb Williams and all that, like, it's obviously a dysfunctional organization. There's going to be a lot on your plate that you probably don't even expect. Same thing, you come to the Cowboys, it's your first job as a head coach. There's going to be a lot on your plate that you probably don't even really expect, you know? So, I mean, heck, McCarthy talks about that now, and look how long he was the Packers head coach before he even came to Dallas, and he talks about how there's some things that happen, whether it be, you know, Jerry related and things like that, with how much Jerry talks and stuff like that, that took some time for Mike to get used to and things like that. And he's a veteran head coach, you know? So those things, I think, as long as Jerry's around, will always factor in, and that's why I still believe that their next head coach will be somebody that already has head coaching experience. Yeah,
no, but I think Ken asked a really good question, though. Like, it absolutely should make you a little nervous if you look at all the openings. Like, the Saints job will be open, the Jets. We've talked about this a little bit before. The Saints, Jets, the Bears, we know for sure now. And then there's probably 3, 4, 5 other teams who, you know, just like every year, you know, that happens. And here you go. If you're a part of that, then you would like to be in front of it, I would imagine. And hey, maybe they are. Maybe they've already got a plan, you know?
Yeah. But Jerry's done it before. I mean, with Parcells and I think Switzer too, where before he even made the move, he knew they had a handshake deal with his next guy, you know? Not to say he's like that anymore, but it has happened in the past.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, maybe that is the case. Maybe he does already with somebody, whether it be Belichick or Vrabel or somebody else like that. Yeah, maybe that is possible. I don't know, but also with Jerry Jones, there could be somebody out there that we're not even talking about that gets thrown in the mix. Because I'm telling you, in 2019 at this time, I don't remember a lot of deep discussions we were having about Mike McCarthy.
No, and that's what I was going to maybe ask, because I don't know if I've ever asked this or known this. And this might be tough to answer because it's 5 years ago. But I now wonder, like, we had the barn year, as it's now known. The story is, you know, they just always liked him, brought him in for an interview. But it's like, I wonder now how far ahead of time. Clearly, we're gutting Jason Walk after this season. I do wonder now. I can't believe Kevin really never thought of that until this discussion. Were they already thinking of that? Like, mid-season or bye week, we're self-evaluating. Look, this doesn't go our way. And it's hard to remember what happened specifically in the 2019 season too, I guess, right?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, when you think of the stuff that Jerry said after they hired McCarthy, it points to all of that. It was all about what he did with the Packers, which that was already done at that point. And then it was all about like how well he did when they played against the Cowboys. The Dez catch game, the 2016 playoff game that they lost on the Rodgers throw to Jared Cook along the sideline.
The Super Bowl at the stadium.
Right.
That's not him. That's not being able to stop that quarterback.
So a lot with that logic points you back to what you've said before, KT. It's not likely. I don't expect it to happen. But everything we just said is one of the reasons why you can't 100% definitively shut the door on Doug Peterson.
Oh, God.
You can't. As much as you would sit there and say, well, obviously they won't do that. You can't say that. And honestly, that's why you can't 100%. Again, I don't expect this to happen. It's very, very, very highly unlikely. I mean, I think it's at the 1% thing, but that's why you can't put it at 100% with John Gruden either.
Yeah.
Because all the things that he said about McCarthy, you can sell about any coach that's won a Super Bowl. You can sell that about. You're going to say the same stuff.
Me up for that insanity.
Mike Shanahan.
It'd be. Oh.
I'm just
sign
saying.
me up for the insanity of John Gruden.
I'm not completely out on that either. There is a part of me that maybe I'll regret it when I'm in it, but there is a part of me that thinks like, wow, this could be wild.
That would
Who's
be
the most wild coaching staff you could assemble? John Gruden, head coach.
That's going to be hard to top. Greg Williams.
Insane people.
Yeah, the what's his name? That dude from what's his name would be on the staff? Connor Stallions. That was the sign stealer for Michigan. Yeah. That they did the documentary on Netflix about. He's got to be in the mix.
McVay's old get back
rehire
coach.
Rob Ryan.
Couple of guys that Gruden's been around for the last month or so at Barstool Sports or whatever.
Yeah, Big Cat running the offense.
Yeah. He'll have them. Yeah. He'll have
Rex
some
Ryan,
guys like that.
PFT.
I'm trying to think who else is in his circle. You got to bring back Jay Gruden.
You bring back Jay to run the offense.
Obviously.
We let Rex Ryan run the defense. Dude, insane. And honestly, no.
And Bones is still special teams coordinator.
No, well, obviously. I mean, that goes without saying. I don't think that was ever in question. No. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those that it's the if they've, because Jerry will say this about players, he'll say this about business. He says this more and more. The older I get, the more I listen to Jerry. I hear it all the time, and I just feel like I disagree with it more and more as I get older. But it's the whole, well, if I've seen them do it before, they can do it again. I mean, he's said that as recently as about Zeke. When they re-signed Zeke, but he says it about players all the time. Like if I saw them, like you could use it for Mozzie Smith. Like I don't know how much you guys have noticed how like there's been some little positive stuff about Mozzie coming out of that game.
Okay,
yeah, it's the same thing that we were saying about Mozzie the last time they played the New York Giants. And then they played other teams, and then you didn't hear anything from, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's these things where you're like, because he did it, because I thought of Mozzie because I remember Jerry saying that about like Tristan Hill. Like, no, he's done these, and he's done the things that we're looking for him at different times. He just hasn't put it together. We've seen it before, so that's why we're going to keep going with this. And he said about Taco, and he says it all the time about like different things that they're not working. And so it's like, well, I'm going to say that I've seen it before, so that means I can see it again. And I don't think most people in professional sports look at things that way. It's very much, what are you doing for me right now? If you're not helping me win games, I'm moving on to the next solution. It's not about, no. Let's give him a couple more. Let's give him a couple more months because we've seen him do it before, And that's why with this coaching search thing, it could very much come down to, no, I mean, we've seen him. He's coached in Super Bowls before, whoever that is. And it's a name that most people are like,
oh no,
nobody else was even interested in that person. Yeah. And that's why I could see them playing this thing out like they did with Jason, where it's like let's say the Texans were balling, where like people were talking for a while about Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson, where Jerry's just like, talk about them. We're not interested in them at all. Like
Tom Coughlin is going to get the call or something.
There you go.
Like
like somebody like that.
Yes.
Where you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be so
How would
weird.
they justify it with Gruden though? I mean, the Bucks in the early 2000s?
Yes.
Would his memory would be?
Yes.
It's a while ago.
He's seen him do it before.
He did Monday Night Football, went to the Raiders, and completely destroyed that organization. Like, some of the worst drafting that's ever been done in the NFL happened under his watch, him and Mike Mayock's run there in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I would be very scared. I mean, it would be an entertainment experience for Cowboys fans everywhere. I mean, he'd be.
Would you be so scared that you would
really
put it
fun
as,
to cover? But
what if he called you and was like, "Kent, you have two options. It's that, or we go back to Jason Garrett. What are you doing?"
We absolutely go with the insane person.
I go with John Gruden in that case. Yeah.
Or
Yes.
Jason, what about, okay, now, so that's one battle, that's one. Now we've moved on to round two. Now it's that or Jason Witten.
Oh, man. I think
It's
you probably
tough.
do the Witten thing.
No
because-
coaching experience in the NFL at all.
I think I might do the Witten thing.
And hope that he's Dan Campbell, so I better be hiring a good
and
offensive
bet on
coordinator.
like players just respecting the hell out of him and
Bet
see how
Kellen
far
to
that
come
gets
back.
And
you.
he knows Jerry really well, and that he'll know how to deal with the things that Jerry likes to do, and he'll be the walk-around coach, and he won't even have much say in his staff because Jerry will pick it all. It'll be like, we're keeping Zimmer, we're going to get another OC.
We'll bring Kellen back here.
Hey,
And what about Witten versus?
What if the Eagles win the Super Bowl?
Oh, Kellen might get. That's about to
That's what
heat
I'm
up.
saying.
That's about the Kellen train's about to heat up because Sirianni's not going anywhere now. This is about to be
Well,
popping. The
Sirianni-
Kellen talk.
I would let
Sirianni's
another
the secret
team,
sauce, so you can't let him go.
I would let another team take that experiment. I don't view Kellen as like a very charismatic leader.
Yeah, I know,
He's
but
a
that's
very smart guy, but like I don't know about leading a locker room, all that kind of stuff.
And this is very common with just covering sports in general. You start a topic talking about one thing and you twist it because we started it. We were talking about what Jerry would and what the Cowboys would do, and then we turn into what we would do, and what we would do is always going to be different. You know what I'm saying? Like Ben Johnson would 100% get an interview. I'm not saying I would give him the job. He's got to get an interview. You got to bring him in. You got to at least talk to him.
I could see them not.
Right.
Because what happened
100%.
last time. This is
Exactly.
The whole thing.
That's why what I just said is that's what I just said. That's what
annoying.
I would do. I don't expect them to do that. No.
Very annoying.
Yeah.
I looked up because we talked about McVay a few weeks ago, and just had the discussion. Would you give up a 2026 first round pick? Not next year's, the 2026 first round pick for Sean McVay, because that's when his contract is up after that year. Kyle Shanahan's contract, because I have had the 49ers in my mind just because they're on as we're recording this. And McCaffrey got hurt, in that game. And dude, they are about to drop to 5-7, and that window is absolutely dwindling because that's an aging team.
Yep.
They got questions about the quarterback and his health and the shoulder, and all with McCaffrey and all that stuff. There's a lot there. We all know what's going on with them. I looked it up. Kyle Shanahan will be a free agent after the 2027 season. But I was thinking about who are the names of the actual current coaches now. If you were just to quickly, name your starting five, who you would want here. Like, how easy is that to do?
You're saying that
And
that are under contract?
Yeah, just right now. There's 5 other coaches in the NFL. If you could pick them.
I could pick them really
Of all the
quickly.
other coaches in the NFL right now, they're head coaches
Yeah.
right now. The other
Give
31
me
coaches.
Mike
it's
Tomlin,
like it's like
Andy
a complete
Reid.
free agency thing. You're saying, like, even,
Yeah,
it
maybe
doesn't matter if
fantasy
they're not-
drafts.
It doesn't matter if they're under contract or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who would it be? Because the reason I'm asking is because this might give you a better idea of the type of person we're looking for. And I think
I'm about to get sidetracked and just think, because I'm already looking at team names, and all I'm doing in my head is
My
going,
top 5 is.
I wonder how far I'd have to get before I say Nick Sirianni, and I just think it would be so far.
I
And
think
they
it
could
would be
very-
far.
And they could very easily get to the Super Bowl this year, and I still am like, yeah, I can get 10, 15 names before I get there. But
don't you feel the same way about Sean McDermott too? Right?
Oh yeah. That's why I sit there and I think a little bit on the whole Ben Johnson thing when people talk about, it just makes too much sense. He's going to the Bears. I'm like, yeah, until the Bills choke in the playoffs. You think that they're just going to run that back another year if they don't win in the playoffs? Like, there's no guarantee. And I'm not saying they go young and go Ben Johnson, but I'm like, I wouldn't sit here and say that the Bills are guaranteed to keep their head coach. They're set up right now that this team has to go to the AFC Championship game. And then depending on how that game goes, then they'll decide from there. But yeah, his job is not secure at all. It'll be judged in the playoffs for sure. Obviously, Dan Campbell's very high on the list for me because if you can pull the Detroit Lions out of the mud, hashtag Kevin Garnett, anything is possible.
You can do anything.
Yeah. Tomlin's a good one, though, for sure, Kent. I agree with you on that, 100%.
Do you guys each have a top 5?
Yeah, mine's Tomlin, Andy Reid, Sean McVay, probably Kyle Shanahan, and I would throw Sean Payton in there probably. And the fact that Jerry didn't go after him is still shocking to me. Maybe he did, but the fact that they didn't end up with him when he had a clear opportunity, embarrassed at home, all that kind of stuff, still shocking.
I'm a jerk. I still think that Crater's in Denver, like in the next 5 weeks.
I agree with all the names that Kent just said other than Sean Payton. And then obviously, like I've said before in here, Sean McVay would be my number one. So to replace, I would take Payton off your list. And for me, I would probably go, God, and I don't really care for this gentleman, but I would probably go Jim Harbaugh. I just think the guy wins.
I love all the names. I'm going to insert something here because I think it's important for this situation. Fixing the offense in Dak. Dak has to be great. Dak has to be like he was last year and the years before that. He cannot be bad Dak. And that, I'm not sure that Mike Tomlin can do that. And I love Mike Tomlin. Jesus.
Yeah, I just think I think you feel like that they have to win that way, though. I don't think that they have to win that way anymore because they put so much investment in the defense.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to win that way. If you told me that, and again, Harbaugh bothers me so much, but he said this last year, or maybe no, it was this year at the Combine, or maybe it was the Senior Bowl, or I don't know. It was one of those things where each coach sits at the table and the local media goes around him. And after he got that Chargers job, he was talking about like what position is the most important position that every other position group on the team relies on. And he says it's the offensive line. He's like, because you can't get anything going on offense if you don't have a good offensive line. And he goes, and I've said this before, and defensive linemen will speak up and they'll say, well, no, it's us, blah, 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 whatever. And he's like, yeah, but you depend on them too, because don't you like them being out? Don't you like being able to have, when you come off the field, to sit on the bench because you have these long drives because the offensive line's doing their job over there? And he said, and even ultimately the defensive guys will agree with it. So it's like, if you have a good offensive line, you're able to successfully run the ball like we've been able to see, you're kind of seeing it right now with Cooper Rush. Like, you don't really want to be in a spot where you're throwing the ball 40 times a game. I don't care if your quarterback's Cooper Rush. I don't care if your quarterback's Dak Prescott. And so I do see a way with like a Mike Tomlin where he'd be like, the defense is so good. They have a good running game. And Dak just has to make, 25 throws a game that were just like, hey, don't turn the ball over. Make these solid throws. Keep the chains moving. And they're just consistently winning and most importantly, beating good teams when it matters most. I could easily see that happening with Tomlin.
I agree with you. I also would ask the question then, and you didn't know this at the time you paid him, I guess. Then why sign him? That's where,
because you're deathly scared of the alternative, and that's to go out into the abyss and have to find your next quarterback. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're worried about. They don't want to have to, or I shouldn't even say they. That to me has always been what Jerry doesn't want to mess with that. And to be honest with you,
I don't
how
either.
much I watch college football, there just isn't a lot of people on the way.
No.
Arch Manning, I'm done. There's just not a lot of guys where you're just like, no, this will do it, Because,
I agree.
And I say that on the sense of, now, of course, when they gave out the contract, you do also, that's now we got a hamstring issue now. Like there's just been, now the injuries are starting to add up. But when he signs a contract, he's 31 years old. You got 7 or 8 more years out of that quarterback, at the way he plays the position. So I think that's what it is more than anything. It's we got to get this done. Do we think he's one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the league? Probably not. We will say we think he is, but we definitely think he's top 10. And the alternative of not having him terrifies us, and we're never going to admit that to anybody.
I get it, and by the way, and they won today over Arizona, but Minnesota, who is a good team, you cannot deny that at all. They are 10-2, right? They're excellent, and I still watch them every week and go, okay, there's a team I'm not scared of in the playoffs.
100%.
I
was just texting friends about that today.
maybe we'll get there, and a lot of that has to do with Sam Darnold.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, that's what I did. My list ended up more in the realm of Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay.
Mm-hmm.
We can put Andy Reid in there, although
the ages,
Boy.
age and health don't seem like there's a long runway. But yes, continue.
When's the last time you saw a Chiefs wide receiver running wide open? Dude, if it's not Xavier Worthy burning someone once a game deep and then Mahomes overthrowing him,
yeah, but
they don't have open wide receivers right now.
Yeah,
I'd be interested in finding the advanced stats look on that to confirm my speculation here, like on tight window throws. Boy, it doesn't feel like anyone's getting open.
That's fair.
I snuck
always
in.
the defense.
His
if you
age
take
is-
away Kelsey, they have nothing. Well, they have Kelsey, so
yeah, his age is the more of a concern to me than his coaching. I think I would be more than happy to have him as a coach. I just don't know how many years you're getting out of him. How many more years is he going to coach for?
Yeah. So McVay.
can't
I
see
just
it
think
being
he has
one,
a
two, or
he has
three.
a handle, in my opinion, when I rank coaches, who has a handle on what is trending in the NFL, offensively, defensively, where things are going. I feel like Andy Reid has his mind on that. And that's why I think Sean Payton does too. I mean, he's taken Bo Nix to a 7-5 record right now. Name one player on the Broncos that's not Bo Nix or Cortland Sutton. It's very hard,
No, and that's
Pat
a good point
Surtain,
too.
that's it.
That's a good point too, Kent, because it's not just even about like on game days too. You want a coach that like is forward thinking on the roster building and
Yes.
construction of where
Yeah,
you're
I'm
going to
thinking.
invest your money and things like that. So yeah, no, that's a good point for sure.
I just find I feel like I can find a lot of ways to poke holes in Denver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they don't have really any good wins, but this is not a good time to do that, so they can have that. And I've just never been a big Sean Payton fan. So
I also like Matt LaFleur a lot too.
Yeah, I was going to sneak in LaFleur, and they look terrible when it's cold or when Tua's concussed. I'm not off the Mike McDaniel train. They do awesome stuff.
Yeah.
But he has yet to have a season where his quarterback can stay healthy for a full year. And they're a team, much like Detroit, I think, who really needs home field advantage to be highly successful. Like, dude, if Detroit fumbles that game to the Bears and end up losing, home field advantage, like the Lions and Eagles in Philadelphia. Is way different. The golf thing is true.
No, you don't love that. But if you can play inside or in warm weather, you're fine. But yeah, playing outside in Philadelphia in late January, that's such an advantage for the Eagles. It's not even up for debate.
It really is, man.
Just like it's such a big advantage for the Lions if the Eagles would have to come play Detroit at Ford Field. Wanted to be ridiculously loud. The Lions have never hosted an NFC Championship game, so the place would be tuned up. And then the fact that you're basically playing on a track as opposed to playing on grass, then it's cold, and that would factor in. But when you said the Mike McDaniel thing, the first thing that always comes to my mind with him is Mike D'Antoni, the NBA coach, where it's like puts up the big numbers, but like as soon as you get to the playoffs, you're like, well, of course, that team's loaded. There's even years where he's at the best record, and you're just like, yeah, we all know that this isn't going to end with them hoisting the Larry O'Brien.
I hear that.
Great coach,
real quick, Ken, I want to house clean one thing, and then we're going to go to Kent, and then we'll get out of here. I do want to house clean the 2019 Cowboys season. They started out 3-0, and then 3 straight losses. Saints, Packers, Jets, 4-3 to the bye week, and then they were 5-3. So they are November 10th, and then they lose. So 5-4, 6-4 to win, and 3 straight losses to go to 6-7. And then the final 3 games of the year, you go 2-1. So they ended up 8-8 again to end the Garrett era. Imagine that. So yeah. So, but there's an argument to make that at November 17th. You are 6-4, thinking, okay, well, we'll see what happens. So
yeah,
from earlier.
I'll remember that Philadelphia game for a while in week 16. There, the one that they lost. What was it?
In Philly,
17-9. Yeah, just that the opportunities they had late in that game to win that game or at least tie the score. And not great there. Not great.
Terrible.
The opportunities were there. So I will be fascinated I will be very, very fascinated if somehow the Cowboys are able to get this thing to where they're still playing meaningful games in week 15, week 16. I'll be just going from where the season's gone, the fact that Dak's out for the season, even with them getting back Lawrence and Trayvon Diggs. I'll be surprised if it gets to that level, but it is a great league of parity and crazy things happen all the time, so I can't 100% rule it out, and it's not like they have an extremely tough schedule outside of Philadelphia remaining, so we'll see.
Let's go over to Kent.
Yeah, perfect segue. Leads into my question. Just what your confidence level boost is after this win, these 2 division wins, I should say, the past 2 weeks. Looking at the way the NFC East currently is, Philly absolutely whooped the Ravens today and sit at 10-2. So it's basically going to be impossible, I would think, to catch them at this point, unless, something wild. Yeah, I mean, literally numerically impossible at this point. So they got to have their sights set on the Commanders at 8-5. You're at 5-7. Doesn't seem impossible that you could be, in second place in the division, and then who knows what happens with the rest of the divisions, right? So, what do you think the likelihood is of that, though?
I mean, the Packers got in last year. I think they were 9-8, right?
Yes,
they were the last wild card team. They were the 7th seed at 9-8. I think that's where the Cowboys have to get. They're not getting in at 8-1. You know what I'm saying? Like they're going to have to. They're not getting in at 8-9. They're going to have to win 9 games, and so you don't feel very confident they have any chance of beating the Eagles in Philadelphia. So there's your one loss. So can they go and beat the Bengals and then beat the Bucks and Panthers and then the Commanders again? Yeah, it's possible, but it's so unlikely that they're not going to lose at least 1 or 2 of those games. I'm with the fans. Like I said, I put that poll. They had them at 7 wins. That's kind of where I'm at. I think they win. I think they end up winning 7 games, so they win 2 more the rest of the way.
Boy, I tell you how you feel though. You beat the Bengals with the Panthers on deck.
Yeah,
the Panthers. You do feel a little bit better, and we have beat the Bengals at home before with Cooper Rush. We all remember it. So, yeah, no, I very low. Odds very low because the problem is really that Green Bay and Minnesota are going to occupy 2 of these wild card spots. Yep. So you end up with that thing that you're kind of looking for. But man, watching Washington too. I mean, they look great today against Tennessee, but everyone looks great against Tennessee.
The path to the Cowboys doing this, the way the games would look, is Rico has to continue to run the ball really well, like where he's teetering at 100-yard games in all these games. Obviously, you can't turn it over, and the defense has to look like it has the previous 3 years, where it's like they're winning the turnover battle, whether it's interceptions, whether it's sack fumbles. And if you're not winning the turnover battle, there is one way that you can kind of make up for that. And we've seen it a little bit this year, but it would be a huge play here or there from Kevontae Turpin that just kind of flips the field or changes momentum. So I do, because I bring that up because I do feel like Turpin is at the best spot he's been in since he's been a Cowboy, where it just, the confidence seems sky high right now, to where it's like you just got to keep finding ways to get him up the ball, because when you have Cooper Rush, like, he's not going to really turn the ball over, but he's not going to make a lot of big plays. And so how can you get big plays? I just don't see ways that it doesn't involve Turpin.
Dude, I'm glad you mentioned that real quick. But like we were talking about the Chiefs a minute ago, right now, what Turpin is doing is not that different than what Xavier Worthy is giving the Chiefs. Yeah. Now Xavier Worthy gets more opportunities and chances, and it's definitely closer to maybe the Alex Pierce scale for the Colts than it is. But like, that has to keep happening, and it should have been happening the whole time. And a few more cracks at it will mean you'll have success at it a little bit more. So I agree with you 100%. Also, getting Brandon Cooks back, it does help to have another polished receiver out there. He's not the Brandon Cooks of old, clearly, but those are a couple of big plays.
And I will say this, you get Ferguson back. I think that these last couple games without him has given Schoonmaker a little bit more confidence in his game as a pass catcher that he really didn't have an opportunity to get, and I think he has that now. And so I think that helps as well. Ultimately, I think there's going to be good things that you're going to see. It's just we're going to look back on it and go, you just couldn't have fallen to 3-7, man. You just
Too little,
couldn't
too
have.
late, man.
You couldn't have dug yourself that big of a hole. You had to win a couple more games there, so you could have pulled yourself out later. And because they didn't do that, that's the big problem. That's what's going to cost them. You know.
Well, we'll get Sod back a little bit later in the week. We'll preview the Bengals. We might have Bengals reporter over at ESPN, Ben Baby, join us as well. College friend of mine. Used to work at the Denton Record Chronicle. I know he covered the Aggies for a few years, but that is a dude who has done it all and covers the Bengals. So we might have Ben Baby join us a little bit later in the week because he's one of my best friends in the world, and he's a sweetheart of a fella, and he knows a little about the Bengals dysfunction because they've got that. They've got that going on. So we'll get Sod back in the fold as well. Again, hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. We'll get this thing posted up for you. Spotify, Apple, most places that you get your podcast and things like that. We got a Discord server as well that you can check out for the One Star Cowboys podcast. Give us a share or a follow or whatever you got to do. A good review. Those things are cool. And make sure you're following John's and Sod's work over on The Athletic. Check out that Bad About Movies podcast, too. For Kent Garrison, for Jon Machota, I am Kevin Turner. We'll talk to you a little bit later in the week on the One Star Cowboys podcast.